Welcome to the Safety Pro Podcast, where we help you manage workplace safety one episode at a time. And now, your very own Safety Pro, Blaine J. Hoffman.
Okay, welcome to another episode of the Safety Pro Podcast, episode 5. That's right. This is going to be a Q&A episode, a real quick one. I have started something new recently. If you go to consulthoffman.com and across the top, you'll see some tabs, pages, right? Go to Let's Talk, and that's where you can get in touch, contact me, send me a message. But right front and center at the very top of that page is you can send me a voice message right through the website using your laptop or embedded microphone or something that's attached. You can ask an audio question that I can answer to you directly and also on the podcast. So go to consulthoffman.com to the Let's Talk tab and go ahead and leave me a voicemail. I get email questions a lot as well. So what you can do is you can email me at customerservice@consulthoffman.com. 2 F's, 2 N's on Hoffman. Make sure you get that right, and I will get the email. But I've got some questions I thought were pretty interesting. I thought we would talk about. I'm going to start with an easy one. I just got this off the printer. This one's a good one, classic. Okay, so I've got, in a recent class, I learned you're not allowed to open a rail car door with a forklift. We are in a general industry environment. I read the reg 1917.17 and I need a little clarification. Is it okay to open the door of a rail car with the forks of the lift if the rail car door has a slot for the forks? Or is this slot intended for a device that is to be used? Here's the problem. 1917 is the maritime regulations, so shipyards and whatnot. So in a general industry environment, 1910 regulations would kick in, and you would not need 1917. So that actually was an easy one. Throw that one away. Okay, here's a good one. So this is somebody who tried looking this up on the OSHA website. I actually have 5 quick tips on navigating OSHA.gov. You want to go to my website and look for that. But here's the question. I tried looking this up on the OSHA site and got nowhere but frustrated. I informed management that we have this situation. Are we required to use wheel chocks on a truck that's parked inside the plant that a contractor is using to load up materials and haul out? So it looks like they're having some demo or demolition or construction type work inside the plant. But basically, they have a vehicle that is driving into the plant and parking. So here's the deal. Regarding wheel chock, there's several things that come to mind. In most cases, the commercial motor vehicles, CMVs, are no longer required to chock trailer wheels when parking at loading docks. Here's where you're going to have the problem. It doesn't look like it's at a loading dock. So it looks like they're just driving it in and then parking it in a general area where pedestrian workers can be walking around, right? So the background on this is that there was an agreement between the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, okay, the FMCSA, and OSHA, Authority over Commercial Motor Vehicles. Those parking issues, that belongs to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. So consequently, what OSHA did was, OSHA's wheel chocking requirements that are found for you policy wonks that need to write this down. It's 29 CFR 1910.178 K1 and 1910.178 M, as in max, 7. That's in the Powered Industrial Truck Standard that deals with chalking wheels of trailers at loading docks before you drive onto the trailer with the forklift to unload it and whatnot. Okay, that standard no longer applies to commercial motor vehicles. Here's something else. April 2001, OSHA instructed its regional offices that enforcement personnel are not to cite its wheel chocking requirements. with regard to CMVs, commercial motor vehicles. They are currently developing, however, enforcement guidelines that will clarify this further. That was in 2001, that letter. If for any reason these trucks or trailers can be caused to move in such a manner to present a recognized hazard, then you're required under the general duty clause to provide protection. So now we're right back to using chocks. Okay, so just because you found some wiggle room in the standard doesn't mean you're going to fit, right? That it's going to fit your scenario. So in this case, if you've got a lot of vehicle traffic moving, backing and moving around and turning, or loading the truck with materials, if that truck could be caused to shift or sway and there's a worker standing nearby or whatever, all you need to be able to do is say, hey, that is a recognized hazard associated with loading, commercial vehicles. Even though it's not being boarded and it's not at a dock, it's the same action, placed upon that vehicle and could cause, harm. So yeah, you got to put chocks down. That was a long answer. The short answer, use chocks. I mean, it doesn't take any time, really. It doesn't take any time for that driver to get out, throw some chocks under the rear wheels and go about their business. So, whenever I get questions like these, I always kind of want to shake my head a little bit, because here we've got somebody firing off an email, somebody who knows the right thing to do. This individual, obviously said, let's use chocks. Somebody else, apparently, according to the email manager, said, I don't think we need them. It's like, really? Just put them under there. I mean, who doesn't park a vehicle like that's being loaded with material inside of a facility and not put chocks under the tires? So especially, given the fact that it's not your vehicle, you can't kind of control. You don't know when it was inspected last. You don't know what the condition of the brakes are. This is a contractor coming in with their vehicle. I also argue that this truck is being used in construction and demolition activity. So for all of you out there, what standard would that fall under? 1926, the construction regs. So get rid of that one. All right. Next question. So, confined spaces. I love confined spaces. Okay, if you are not entering a confined space, but you are just inspecting it to see the condition inside, you don't break the plane with your body, and you close the door by using a hook that you have to apparently reach in the space to do. Do you have to fill out a confined space permit? Okay, so according to, and this letter of interpretation goes back to 1995. That's the latest on this particular topic, okay? When any part of the body of an entrant breaks the plane of an opening to a permit-required confined space that is large enough to allow full entry, entry is considered to have occurred and a permit is required, regardless of whether there is an intent to fully enter the space or not. If a part of the body were placed in an opening through which the worker could not pass into the permit-required confined space, you don't need the permit. So, there you go. However, if entry by only part of the body does not expose the entrant to the possibility of injury or illness, then the violation may be considered de minimis. So even if you had a permit-required confined space, but putting your hand, 2 inches into the space to grab a latch, if within those 2 inches there is nothing that would cause bodily harm, you still may get a citation according to this letter. It would just be a de minimis violation, which means there is no penalty amount, no abatement period. It's a technicality. Yes, you technically violated the confined space standard, but it didn't put anybody in harm's way or at risk. Now, what they would have to assess is, in my estimation, is whether or not that employee appreciated that. Meaning, if I were to ask an employee, can you just reach in there and shut a door? Well, yeah, I think I can because I'm not actually getting in there, without regard of a hazard being present or not. That says one thing to me. But if an employee says, Well, I can, so long as I don't get, 2 feet in, because that's where that impeller is still active and can turn, or that blade or that mixing paddle. So if they had an appreciation for that fact, then that would probably drive a lot of this, okay, unfortunately. So let me give you some examples where only part of the body gets into the space and would not expose an entrance. So here's the first one. If you reach through the opening of a horizontal space, a permit-required confined space, because it contains any kind of live electrical parts, let's say it's 10 feet from the opening. If you just reach in a couple inches to pull a latch closed and there was no intent to go any further, that would be an example. An entrant put their head through the opening of an overhead permit-required confined space only because it contains an unguarded rotating part 10 feet from the opening. That would be another example. Those two, that one scares me right there. Examples of situations where entry by only part of the body into the space can expose you to possibility of injury and illness is if the entrant can possibly suffer a burn while reaching into the space. So because the entire space and the chamber, the door that is hot from heat is a thermal hazard. Okay, or when you can possibly fall into a below grade permit required confined space while standing on a vertical ladder in the opening of the space. Okay, so because it contains maybe oxygen deficient atmosphere or something like that. Yeah, partial entry would throw you right into a full permit needing to be filled out, okay? Monitoring, attendant, all that good stuff. Or if you could become unconscious as a result of your head accidentally entering the space, even just outside the space. There have been cases at, like, for example, steel mills or petrochemical plants where they're doing some purging, where they do nitrogen purging of a space to kind of purge all the gases and stuff that are in there. They use nitrogen, which is inert, but the problem is it also displaces all the oxygen. You put your head near that space to look in there, and you inhale that rich nitrogen atmosphere. Boom, pass out, fall head first right into the space, or fall down. And people unfortunately have had fatalities not even getting into the space. So, look. The interpretations of the standards that would apply are, of course, they're pretty limited in what OSHA can state in a letter. They would have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But if, again, it goes back to with the wheel chocks. When in doubt, take the safe route. I mean, there you go. That's a bumper sticker right there. The employer is always obligated to take the appropriate steps to protect employees that either reach into permit-required confined spaces or even just working around them. So it's always good practice to go above and beyond. Always modify your policies and procedures if you make changes to how you approach confined spaces. This also goes for reclassifying confined spaces, permit-required confined spaces. A lot of folks get in trouble with that one as well. A quick episode this time around, mainly because I wanted to highlight the fact that I want you, my listeners, to send me questions about safety in the workplace. I will answer them directly via email, privately to you, but I will also read them anonymously on the podcast so that we could share these experiences with other listeners. Again, customer service at consulthoffman.com, or go to consulthoffman.com, the Let's Talk page. And you can send me a voice message that I can not only play on the podcast, I will leave out your name or any personally identifiable information, but I will be happy to do that as well. You can also listen to the podcast episodes right there at work. This is a Safe for Work broadcast. So I want you to learn more about workplace safety. I want you to share this with your coworkers, and please ask me questions. If they come up, I will answer them. Until next time, stay safe.
Thanks for listening to the Safety Pro Podcast. Be sure to visit www.consulthoffman.com for articles and information about safety services. To have Blaine read your question on the show, email him at customerservice@consulthoffman.com. Be sure to have 2 F's and 2 N's on Hoffman. Until next time, be safe.